Good morning. My name is Haley, and I will be addressing today the topic of gun violence within the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, as well as the larger United States, specifically in terms of the impact that it has on Black communities as well as minority communities. The article that I'd like to talk about today comes from WCCO CBS Minnesota. And this was from actually almost a year ago now. It was from September 16th, excuse me. In light of the recent racial protests surrounding George Floyd's death, I thought it was interesting to go back a little ways and see that this is a pattern that the Minneapolis and St. Paul police officers have kind of been perpetuating. Even within the story, it talks about how there were three people that were shot and killed in a 9-hour period within kind of the same block of St. Paul, which is certainly not ideal. However, specifically in terms of this article, it is titled, "It's Our Harsh Reality, BCA Investigates St. Paul Officer Involved Shooting of Ronald Davis." Ronald Davis was a black man who rear-ended a cop, and when the cop got out to confront him, Ronald Davis, he apparently had a knife and then was fatally shot by the police officer. I think we can all agree that fatal shootings are certainly not ideal, especially when the police plays the judge, jury, and executioner. But it's certainly not ideal that police are being approached with, means of being a weapon. Protective factors for Ronald Davis were fairly lacking. I would love to share some statistics with you about being black, specifically in America. Black men are 13 times more likely than non-Hispanic white men to be killed by a gun. And although black Americans only make up 14% of the U.S. population, they are victims of more than half of all U.S. gun violence. Additionally, black women are 3 times more likely than white women to be murdered with a gun. And in terms of children, black children experience gun-related homicides about 10 times more than white children do. And 7 children are killed a day by gun violence. I think we can all agree that that's not great. Children should not be experiencing gun violence, period, but to be 10 times more likely to experience gun violence certainly has impacts on every facet of A, the human experience, and B, school, socialization, feeling safe within your own community. I never realized that was something that I needed to take I never realized that was something that I had taken for granted before. So what causes gun violence? Not necessarily just police brutality, but what causes gun violence? It can be environmental stressors within the communities that you're living in. It can be socioeconomic, and structural disadvantages, disenfranchisement, and lack of access to the opportunities that are afforded to other races, perhaps. The misuse and the disproportionate reactions that people can get from social media, a decreased sense of self and early childhood traumas, those ACEs that we've been talking about in class, hopelessness and fear of victimization, fear and mistrust, and then intimate partner violence, which we've talked about in class as well. As you can imagine, that there's lots of consequences to gun violence. There's mental and behavioral effects. There's PTSD that comes alongside of it. Actually, there was a statistic I read that like a third of black women living in a neighborhood, I believe it was one Pittsburgh neighborhood, and I'll link that in the comments, were just experiencing PTSD by living on that block that was experiencing a lot of gun violence, and I think we can all agree that that's not great to feel so unsafe in your own home. There's also economic implications of excessive gun violence, and that can include reduced employment opportunities. For example, all of this that I've taken from is from the Delta Research and Educational Foundation. But like I said, the Delta Research and Environmental Educational Foundation estimates that $18.2 billion has been lost in medical bills and loss of wages. Additionally, there's also a higher rate of incarceration, which is another video for another time, but there's certainly implications for gun violence and prison time. So that we do know that it's a public health issue that we as future nurses and possibly public health nurses should be aware of. But gun violence is an everyday stressor. It impacts facets of our everyday lives, and it's certainly an epidemic in the Black community. Thanks for watching.